Hey there, shepherds and oathbreakers.
In this week's Limelight, we're chatting with Maia about TTRPGs for tweens.
Let's roll initiative.
Maia, welcome to Campaign Spotlight.
Thank you. I'm excited.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Do you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Sure. My name is Maia. If you look around, for example, if you're already familiar with the Magical Land of Yeld, you will see my name in the various rulebooks listed as arson, which is, oh gosh, I always say this, but it's the only way I can think to say it. It sounds like the crime. It's not spelled like it.
And you're not the same person as like the Maia Arson, the Swiss hacker.
You know what? I've made that joke before. You're the first person to bring it up without me prompting. Yes, I am not Maia the Swiss hacker. She is cool. I like her. I don't know her. It's not me. Please do not come after me, NSA.
Conversely, if you have any questions or comments about this podcast episode, don't go after that, Maia.
Unless you can learn stuff about, like, hacking and stuff, but
That's
don't
true.
worry about it.
Cool. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, the Maia who has contributed to developing Yeld.
All right. So, I was kind of hired back in 2020. Yes, that 2020. It was fun. And we, essentially, I was brought on to help with the social media stuff. I was one of the people, along with, I brought another friend because, honestly, I am chronically ill. I didn't think I'd be able to do it all by myself, and I thought it'd be nice to have some help. So brought on my wonderful friend Emma, who is also on the podcast. You might, if any of you listen, she is Avery. The little one that keeps stealing stuff. And for a while, all I did was just post social media posts, come up with things, stuff like that. And then we had like a Kickstarter in the summer. And that was kind of like our big, like, first go. Years passed, Kickstarter went great. And now I have been promoted to what I have been called the sort of Mistress of Monsters, where every month we have like a little contest where people can go and essentially I come up with a prompt, people submit their answer for the prompt, and if they get selected, they get art of whatever they made, and if they did not make stats, I make stats for it. So.
And then that monster gets rolled into the canonical rules.
Exactly,
for the system.
yes.
So, can you give us an example of one of these prompts?
Okay, you know what? Let me get that. I'm gonna get you one of my favorite ones.
Excellent.
All right, here is one of those prompts. This one resulted in, honestly, my favorite monster I've ever designed. This was March's Monster of the Month from last year. It says, this month we're delving into the world of the deep. The deep is a realm of mystery, uncertainty, and terror. And you all are going to go and make something that spawned those stories. Or perhaps you want to make something of nightmares that only exist in legends. Either is fine, real or imagined. Create a creature of the deep. Make up something real or imagined. Maybe it's something made real by magic of the deep, or maybe it's actually just a true living nightmare.
Yeah, this sounds like a very cool monster, and just like a really fun and flavorful system. What experience do you have with, I guess, TTRPGs beyond working on this on the Yeld system in particular?
All right. So before that, I had been kind of just doing a lot of the things that people kind of expected. Okay, maybe that's inaccurate. For example, I started in like, I don't know, 2015 or so, maybe earlier, in D&D 4th edition. So that's kind of where I got my start. They had a character builder, so I started doing that, and that's, yeah. As time went on, I started doing like little tweaks here and there. 5th edition came out, I got excited. I saw the Warlock, I got unexcited. It started reworking the entire thing. Never released it. Should have done that.
Now, this is way off topic, but what is it about the Warlock class in 5th edition that you would change? If you could like give us the biggest change that you think needs to be made.
I made it so that you could modify every single cantrip the Warlock has. Not just Eldritch Blast.
Okay.
Because I thought, like, it's cool that you can modify one thing. There's so many other options, and you basically only have one cantrip choice. And you have so few spell slots. I decided to fix it. And also to give, like, 2 extra spell slots. Because, like, come on, people. This feels bad.
I mean, I think you can just take more short rests. But anyway, it's cool that you've now gotten to actually, now you're getting to design monsters and incorporate them into a new system.
Exactly.
So congratulations on that. Do you mind telling our audience a little bit about Yeld?
All right. So Yeld is obviously, like, just like with the intro, it's a magical land that exists parallel to our own. If you look at it at first, it is going to be like, oh, look at this fantasy world. It isn't. It's sci-fi. There are giant robot wrecks from previous wars. The goblins have satellites. There are laser guns. You just also use swords. It's weird.
I mean, this seems really fun and flavorful, and this is a system that, you alluded to this in your intro as well. This is a system that's really made for a specific age bracket.
Yes, it is. It is rated just kind of all ages, and so you can just bring in kids. Now, I will say it's a little crunchy, but it's one of those sort of crunchy games that are really good for, like, when you start. It doesn't give you that much. It's about ramping it up. So as long as you aren't, like, joining mid-campaign, usually it's pretty easy. The biggest part of customization are these things called special dice, which allow you to do specific things or add new moves, etc. And generally you start with maybe 2, 3. Whereas, like, some characters I've been playing for a while have, like, 40.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the way that, because the target age demographic for this seems to be tweens, I guess. It's people around 10, 11, 12 years old. Is that accurate?
I would say that is something that we definitely want to make clear that is very important. We want kids to play. Though we also...
Sure. But the system is really designed with that age bracket in mind.
Yes, very much so.
One way, I guess, that it does that is by starting out relatively rules light and then ramping up. Yeah,
like, when the game starts, one of the big things, like, if you all know D&D, which I'm sure you do, like, they have classes. You don't pick a class when you start. There's these heroic jobs, and for one, you can change. You can keep taking and going and just pull things from different classes and combine them together, which is where it gets complicated. But when you start, you're just a kid. What type of kid are you? Well, maybe you're a big sister, or a big brother, or a big envy, or whatever it is your gender expression you want to call, because you can just do whatever the hell you want. One of the people who made the game is non-binary. It's cool. Yeah, I think actually on the team there's only one person who isn't trans. Anyways, so you start as, like, that, or, like, the baby of the group, or the rival, or and you're just a kid. There's, like, or, like, I think my personal favorite type is the liar, the one who always tells the best stories, who also you can't necessarily trust.
So you really do start out as almost like an archetype, and then specialize from there over the course of the game.
Exactly, yeah. And it's very kind of like build your own, like it's like any job you've ever been, you can take the special dice from and keep them. You just can pay and be like, I'm going to have this. So you just keep building it together until you get this weird hodgepodge at the end of all the different things you've ever been.
This is a really cool way to handle character advancement in a way that doesn't feel like people have to make huge choices up top, I think, because especially for younger players, that seems like it makes it a little bit less daunting.
No, you're right. And I know like one of the most important things, and I think it makes this much more kid friendly than a lot of games, is if you're in a lot of tabletop RPGs and you go into an encounter and just everybody dies, that's it. Either you gotta come up with something new, or you gotta come up with a reason for why we're continuing anyway. Yelled, if you die, congratulations, you're a ghost. You gotta keep doing stuff. You can do ghost stuff now. You want to loot the ghost realm like Avery does? You can do that. Why are you doing that instead of helping us, Avery? Because you want ghost loot. All right. Now you're gonna eat that ghost cake off the floor? Sure.
What is your table's experience been like, playing through these kind of preteen aged narratives as as adults?
Well, for me, I know like it's a kind of an interesting challenge because like when you start in things in like a lot of tabletop games, you're like, all right, write your backstory, and you can have a backstory as a kid. It's a very short backstory. Maybe you have something going on, but if you have the moment you start getting into a tragic backstory for a kid, it gets heavy fast.
Yes, but the game doesn't rule that out as a possibility.
No, you can do that. It's just very much you are essentially most times you're being asked to tell like your character has a backstory. Tell that story. This is tell a short story, and you kind of get to run with that and come up with an idea. It's like it's very much a game. Like while your character's discovering things about the world and themselves, you're also discovering things because your character doesn't have these usually doesn't have these big defining moments. I know, like, you know how it's like sometimes you have a game where you get somebody that drops in the middle. I joined a game like that. So that's like our Patreon game. So like in that one, I decided to kind of just go off the deep end and was like, all right, most of these characters, you can choose a character between ages like 7 to 12, unless you're a dog, in which case that's a bit of a larger number, consider it, depending on how you calculate dog age. I was just like, yeah, my girl's 16. She's been in Yeld for 3 years.
Okay.
So like everybody arrived and she's just like, yeah, she's been here alone by herself. She's a vampire now. She's just been having to deal with that.
Got it. Okay. And I guess how does the experience of playing and especially GMing, how does it differ from a system? Because we've discussed quite a bit about what the rules want you to do and what the guidebooks want you to do. In your experience, how does the actual playing of the game differ from something like D&D 5th edition or 4th edition or whatever reference point you're comfortable with?
Well, for one, and this is a personal sticking point for me, if you are a martial class, you have more to do than just attack. There is lots of options, lots of ways to do things.
I don't mean mechanically. I guess I mean because
sorry.
there's different. No. I get what you mean, and I'm glad to hear that because like 5th edition fighter is I totally agree with you. I guess I'm just curious like what the actual playing at the table feels like compared to playing in these other systems, the kind of standard, high fantasy TTRPGs.
It feels, for one, like I think probably the biggest thing that just thematically, the thing that becomes very clear to people very fast, is it's much more like focused on the collaborative element. Whenever you end a session, you like, all right, everybody, what do you all want to do next time? And then everybody comes together and be like, one person might be like, I really want to get a sword. And another person was like, I want to explore those tunnels. I want to see the tunnel mummies. That's a thing. You can have another person that just be like, I want to change my job. I feel like this one isn't, I'm ready to move on. And now then whoever runs next, because you switch that around, that is,
like the GM responsibility rotates.
Yeah, it is collaborative in that not only do you decide what you're going to do together, but you you pass it around. So like I've for example for Yell Play, I'm the person who runs most of the time.
Right.
But people are others are trying it out. Some people like one of our friends, Asa, who plays now, ran for the first time and she kicked ass. Just I was just blown away, and she also kind of came for my heart, and that's okay. Thank you.
Do you find that after people have had the chance to GM, and this is something that I've wondered a lot about lately, do you find that after people have had the chance to GM, the way that they play their PC changes?
I think it's like it's not always, but there definitely is something to be said about it changing your perspective. Because suddenly, like, it can be very easy when you're playing a game to be very like, ah, yes, my character. This is my. I might not be the protagonist, but in my head, I might be.
Oh, sure, sure.
Suddenly, you're looking at the rest of the world and you're connecting with things not just for your character. You're connecting it because you might be able to use that. You suddenly those little details can matter because they're tools for you. They're little like things that you can call on. Maybe somebody brought in a little thing and they decided, all right, it was like a little funny thing, or like at one point there's this one character that was apparently a Kickstarter reward. I didn't realize this at the time, but someone made a heroic mentor named Professor Frog.
Sure.
And I inadvertently I had no memory of this afterwards, but apparently I created a brother who, rather than being the professor, like a professor about like history and all these things, he was the professor of plagiarism.
Okay.
And
This
just
is when you were GMing.
yes, and I don't know what happened, but my brain just went off, and next thing you know, people are like, "Oh, I love that." I'm like, "Love what?"
Right, but then how does that change your experience when you go back to being a player?
It's because now suddenly there are things I've created in the world, and I can interact with that, and it's like anything you create can suddenly becomes a part of that world, and it's like I admit there's sometimes I'm just like it's tempting to be like I could put something in there, which might mean I could investigate that later, and I could see what other people do. Ooh, when it's admittedly it's trusting others, deciding can I trust others with the things I make?
Yes.
And it's the answer to that Yeld says is yes, you can.
Right, which is a very different, I guess, conception of what it means than, like, I think what we see in a lot of TTRPG actual plays, it's like Brennan or Abria or Matt knows exactly what's happening. And and reveals are kind of doled out over the course of, in some cases, years of real world time. And this is a situation where if you lay down a secret, because of this rotating GM, someone else might do something entirely different.
Exactly. And of course, if somebody does, then it's your job to talk together and be like, someone would be like, can I do that? Can I work with that? And then it's like, yes. And then you just kind of, I know, like for me, if anybody comes to me and be like, can I use that? My instant response is, yes, don't tell me. I want to find out.
I really like that. Hey, Jake here, asking for your support in keeping Campaign Spotlight running. Riley and I started this podcast to showcase the creativity of home TTRPG campaigns. Since then, we've released over 60 episodes, including long-form interviews, on-site recordings, and historical deep dives. If you enjoyed the show, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/campaignspotlight. Your support helps sustain independent TTRPG journalism, and also grants your party the wisdom to identify the plot-critical NPC in a crowded tavern. So one thing that I think, thinking about things that this system has that can maybe be incorporated in other systems without a lot of friction and without massively rewriting the rules, is its focus on the passage of time. Right. So not only is there this whole thing where turning 13 is really significant, but the game has a calendar, it has holidays.
Hmm.
People are really encouraged to track that time is passing as you play. I
Yes.
guess what's your experience been like playing? Because and this is really different from other systems where it's like, yeah, the adventure happens over the course of like a few months. There's no specific holidays or seasons or anything, and I think a lot of games kind of inherit that Lord of the Rings DNA of like, I don't know, the adventure takes a few months,
It's
not much.
nebulous.
Yeah, yeah, and I joke about this with my players at home, where it's like this whole epic, arc they've been on has taken 8 weeks of in-universe time, and it's like this is a busy couple of months. But I guess what's your experience been like playing in a system that really encourages people to explicitly track that?
Well, it does a couple things. One thing, there are events and holidays to go to and things to do, and some of them lets you get things that you normally can't get. Or so like there could be some things that are just like, oh yeah, it's like they don't have Christmas. They have something called Keymas. Why does it involve keys? I don't know.
Sure.
Uh, but basically people just give each other keys, and it gives you a chance to kind of exchange gifts, or maybe it'd be like, or like every year they have something called the Black Opera, which is a very dramatic name for essentially what if some of the strongest people in the kingdom got together for a fight, and whoever won. So you know how like in other RPGs you can improve your stats.
Yes.
Yelled, the stats you have depend on the array, basically what you picked to start, and then whichever heroic job you pick gives you a few extra.
Right.
That never changes. You don't get more. You might get items that give you more dice that you can borrow from, as you get stronger, but you yourself do not suddenly get base stronger
Right.
unless
But
you
you
go
get
meet
you
the.
get more abilities though.
You get more abilities, and you
Got
get more
it.
dice to roll because the weapons you get are stronger, the items you get are stronger. But you aren't sitting there being like, "Well, I just really want to increase my charisma." It's like, no, you're. You have three. Do you have three smart dice? That's gonna be your core smart dice.
Right.
So, um, which does matter, especially like if you're like a spellcaster, because however many smart dice you start with determine how many times you can cast a spell. And
Right.
there was something else I was gonna say. It's
It
gone
was about
now.
holidays. We were talking
Yes,
about the
holidays.
opera.
So that way, if you win, you can actually get something that will give you an extra core dice. Just
Got it.
congratulations. Whatever you want, you are stronger. By the way, you do have to go back and defend your title next year. Uh,
Got it. So the
otherwise, you lose.
rules really do incentivize people to participate
Yeah.
and like partake in these holidays in a meaningful way.
Yeah. And it's rewarding to do so. You could get cool stuff. Sometimes you get free stuff. Like, I'll go to a place and it might be like, yeah, you just have free food. Food gives you bonuses. Free food is like, hey, what if you just got an extra dice on whatever, like you were doing?
I actually like I really love the idea that there is like a calendar of festivals and seasons and stuff like that in the background. It really does make the world feel more lived in. Do you think
Yeah.
this is something that ports over smoothly to other systems?
I would say that yes, it does. I mean, I will say some of it takes a bit more doing. It's because you got the whole thing is about making time matter. In some games, don't like if you're playing Monster of the Week. There's essentially no reason to ever record time except for like, how long have we been doing this? Oh, a month? We've had that much in a month? Oh, well, I guess if you don't get too injured, you don't have to worry about healing.
Right, right. Whereas like a system like a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse type systems have the clocks that are pretty explicit.
Yeah,
And so there's something happening in the background, but that's not quite the same as like the leaves changing color or hey,
exactly.
it's time for us to have like pancake day or something like that.
Exactly. And we have stuff like that. And some things are just kind of fun. Or like, all right, so one little detail is that we released is like we have I don't know how many like official expansions, but we have at least 20, I think. and we've added a bunch of free stuff. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe I can't remember, I think this is free. It might not be, but we added a thing. So like, if you're a caster,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you happen to get 3 ones. Magic is wild, and if you get that, you get a magical disaster. The magical, some of them will change based on the season.
Interesting.
So you might like have one season and be like, oh, it's winter now, and now when you roll a 7, that's going to be this one instead of this other thing. Um, and so that really kind of changes all this stuff. And also just like another thing that applies is clothing. Clothing gives you like various buffs, but they are
Right.
made for particular seasons. So there might be one that gives you stuff in winter, and it gives you stuff in winter, gives you stuff in fall because it's cold weather clothing. But once you get to summer and it doesn't do anything for you. You're gonna have to get some other clothes.
This makes a lot of sense. It does seem like something else to keep track of, though. And I mean, this does feel like it adds another item on the GM. Is that the right way to think about it?
It's the sort of thing where like you would it's like it could be something the GM keeps track of. It's largely at least for me, I think it's much more a thing that the player has to because they're the ones that use it or not. If you for example are facing a monster, their clothes are designed for that fight, or maybe they're a bit more static.
Right.
So yeah, that's not as much a concern. It's just more like if a friend comes in and be like, I'm going to be using this cape, and it's like, well, a day passed. That cape now doesn't do anything for you, and they're like, oh no. But for things like that, for like clothes, what I would recommend is keep it simple. Keep it like give a little but boost. Never make it too much. Like with Yeld, all that stuff is made for you. You can make stuff. We have like little tutorials on how to do that. We got a free thing that tells you how to make items. Um, that can work. Um, but in other systems, just like keep the buffs small. Keep them the sort of thing that it's like this is the odds of this being like the thing that makes the giant difference is not huge because especially as you go and you increase your rank in Yeld, the amount of dice you use increases. You start because like you don't like roll a single dice. You just keep adding into a pile, and then you just are like, all right, I have like 15. Roll 15 d6s. Let's add them together. And when you're just adding 1 or 3 of those, that's not that much. It's a notable amount. It has the potential to be a lot. But yeah,
But it's not going to fully drive the campaign, and it's not going to be the kind of thing where you have to keep fastidious track day by day because it completely changes the shape of the combat.
exactly.
Got it.
It can be. It can make a big difference if you have the right special dice on there. If you get something really rare, or the like. But usually, if you get something absurdly powerful, it has either a drawback. Like, gosh, I think there's literally this one cloak called like No Hope, and if you put it on, you get like extra core dice. But essentially, it says you can't go home now. You can never go home.
Oh, shoot.
You have you have essentially decided you are staying here, and there's a certain strength in that.
Yeah,
That clothes item works year round. Uh,
exciting.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess, do you have any thoughts more broadly on how, if someone wants to run games in this system, maybe for a younger audience, how they would go about setting that up and getting started?
I would say that one is, of course, have a session 0, sit down, talk things out. If they have not done a game before, I'm going to tell you how I introduce people to systems.
Sure.
Because essentially, what I like to do is I tell people, if you want to read the rules, read the rules. Figure things out, have fun. Whenever I start a thing, is I have a series of things demonstrating different mechanics which is each an opportunity for people to learn in real time. Like, for example, we have, we have skill challenges, effort challenges, and heroic challenges. And it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? Effort challenge is just, you literally cannot fail. But if you do, it just takes longer. Which might become less ideal. So, like, you've been there a while trying to find your way through that cave, and you get out the other side, and now you're kind of tired and exhausted.
Sure.
You might lose, you might get hurt a little on the way. Whereas, like, skill challenges are, you do or you don't. And heroic are, not only is it do or you don't, but also you can get hurt if you fail. So it's like a combination of the two.
Got it. Okay. And so that's the kind of thing that you would have in session 0. You would be like, hey, let's roll through some of these just to see how they feel.
Exactly. It's
cool.
Show up and be like, all right. So, like, I think, like, in the first one, at one point they, like, entered a closet and it was, like, all dark. I'm like, all right. So, on your sheet you have brave dice. I want everybody to roll brave. Roll whatever your brave number is. If you have anything that says see in the dark, if you have a special dice for see in the dark or a flashlight, add that. And just kind of break it down bit by bit. Try each mechanic and just introduce it slowly but surely.
I think that's really great advice. Sincerely. I've tried to introduce people to new systems with mixed success. But
it's hard. It's really hard. I will say part of the reason I do it that way is I love learning new systems, but starting it is like, okay, here's the 300-page rulebook. Boom. All right, what are you going to do? It's like,
And you can't really credibly assign everyone like a 300-page reading before they show up.
No, you can't. It's like, all right. I know, like, for me, whenever someone gives me, like, a new rulebook, I immediately go, character options. Ooh.
Right. But not necessarily, like, memorize the whole thing.
Yeah, no. And admittedly, I know there's some people who can be a bit more concerned about getting things wrong. I have gotten things wrong on Yeld Play multiple times on a podcast that is recorded, and I have come back the next episode to say, hey, we got this wrong. Because, I didn't know about the fact that money went down only by 1 increment when you spent money. I was just like, I didn't look at how spending money works. I assumed normally if it says it costs this much, you lose that much. Turns out I was wrong.
Well, I think this is like good GM advice all around, just to like, sometimes mistakes are going to happen and that's okay. Do you have any other, I guess, closing thoughts on how you would run a game?
Not everybody knows this. When they, especially if they're new, find out why others are motivated, and don't stop with others. Find out for yourself what drives you. Why do you come back? Find that out and just go with that. Because you aren't just running for them. You're running for you. And if you are not motivated, if you're not excited, something needs to change. You are your audience too.
I really like that. That's incredible advice. And I think this is a great note to end on. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us this week.
Of course.
And that's all for this week. I'm Production Master Riley.
And I'm Dungeon Inspector Jake.
If you enjoy the show, consider subscribing and leaving a review, which helps other people find Campaign Spotlight.
If you'd like to support our work, consider going to patreon.com/campaignspotlight and becoming a patron.
And if you've realized that your world building doesn't really make sense, Just make every NPC an unreliable narrator.
For more on the show, including links to all our social media, visit foldedfrequencies.com/campaignspotlight.